Rector Emeritus. We're here to have a conversation between the rectors, just hearing what it's been like to be the rector of this parish over the last 25 years. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
We're going to jump right into the questions and right into it. Just for everybody that's watching on YouTube, you can enter your questions into the comments, and they will be sent to me digitally, and I'll be able to also ask your questions also. So please feel free to ask questions. One of the reasons why we're doing this as a YouTube is so that it can be archived and be available for in perpetuity or until YouTube's taken down. The first question I have is, we'll start with Father David. Why did you come to SsAM?
Why did I come to SsAM? We were living in Casson, Maine back in the summer of 2009. And I remember I had been in Seattle for a conference, and I began to discern leaving my parish up in Maine. And so I wrote an email to Gary Rowe, who was the Canon of the Ordinary at the time in the Diocese of Delaware, and thinking I was just going to get a Dear David letter back, I got an email back within half an hour, Gary saying, "When can we talk?" So I then called my friend Jeff Ross at St. Peter's in Lewis, Delaware, and I said, "Okay, what's opening up in Delaware? What's opening up in Wilmington?" And he told me about SsAM. I then immediately went to the website and fell in love with the parish. I saw the profile and just thought this could be a cool place to be the rector. And so from that point on, we just started this sort of relationship of discernment first, and then coming down here in the fall of 2009, and then being called 12 years ago in December. So for me, what attracted me to SsAM was when I was in New York, upstate New York, my parish, we volunteered at St. Paul's Chapel in New York City 3 times after 9/11. And SsAM just reminded me of the radical hospitality of that chapel after 9/11. And I've always been looking for a place that offered that radical hospitality where people could be authentic and real and faithful and committed to Christ. And so that's what drew me. And the website at the time for SsAM was it was all over that. I mean, it was just so clear of the commitment the parish had to welcoming not only people into the pews, but also the welcoming spirit that SsAM has for the city of Wilmington.
And Canon Casson, I know we brought you back to Delaware. What brought you back to SsAM, to Delaware?
Well, actually, I was minding my own business. And I was at the 815 2nd Avenue, which is the headquarters of the church, the National Church. I was the social justice officer for the Episcopal Church. Okay. And really enjoying what I was doing. At the same time, I was the pastor of a very interesting, exciting little church down in the East Village, St. Mark's Church in the Bowery. So I really was enjoying it. Max Bell, who was the senior warden of St. Andrews, called me to tell me about the contemplated consolidation of the 2 congregations. And I thought that's very exciting. At first, I thought, why are they doing that? You know, there's only one black parish in the Diocese of Delaware, and now it's going, you know, because that was my experience around the church, is that when consolidations occurred, the black entity, generally speaking, either became fully black or it disappeared off the scene altogether. And I didn't want to have any part of anything like that. So I thought, well, okay. But anyway, Max called me later and asked if I would consider being the rector. This was after the convention, and the 2 congregations had been admitted. And so Max called me, and I said, Max, and Max, by the way, participated in some of the national things that I was involved in, so he knew what I was doing. And he sort of insisted that I at least think about it. So I told him I would. He called me a second time, and I said, I've thought about it, but I don't know. And he says, come on down. We want you to come down. So anyway, I'm going to make a long story short. I came down, and I think what struck me, I should have known because had been on the staff of both of the congregations, St. Andrew's and St. Matthew's. So I knew everybody, mostly. So anyway, what really, I was so impressed by the commitment of and the strength of the lay people. What they had managed to do, really, it was mostly lay done. I mean, the clergy inspired it, I think, on both sides. But by the time the rubber really hit the road, it was really the congregation and the lay people and I just was really impressed with that. The second thing is, I was so impressed about their intentionality, about diversity, inclusion, and equity. This was not to be a joke. This was to be the real McCoy. So I thought, I really like that. That's what I've been doing at the National Church, concerned about poverty and racism and the environment and so on. So here was a place that really wanted to be involved with this. And we're looking for somebody to come and help them do that. So I came down, I met the vestry and met people and the bishop who really, he wasn't certain that this is what I really would want to do. And I think that's what made me decide that this is really what I'm going to do. I love the guy though. He actually is a classmate of mine at seminary. But anyway, the rest is history. Because of what I was doing, I could not come right away. So the call came to me at the end of 1996, but I couldn't come until February of 97. I was installed in March. It's a long answer to your question.
No, but the story is important. The thought processes behind it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how it both centered around a congregation that were doing, that were making things happen. That the people are who called you, not the administration, not the vestry, which is made up of the people.
Yeah,
But
that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Are who brought you.
Yeah.
So you both touched on this a little bit. I wanted to just give you a chance to expound on it. And Ken and Casson, you can start. Is what makes SsAM special? Like, what makes it special versus other churches you've seen around the world?
Well, I think what makes it special, from my point of view, is as I used the word intentionality earlier. This thing here didn't just happen. That's what makes it special. That the effort, the decision, the commitment to say, this is the way this place is going to be. We kept score. How many black people are up front? How many, really? We kept score when we first started this place. And with the vestries, so many from St. Matthew's, so many from St. Andrew's for 3 years. And then by that time, people had gotten accustomed to electing from both parishes, and so we could drop it. But that was mandated for the first 3 years. So I think for me, it's the special nature of it is the intentional commitment to do what people said they were going to do and be what they said they wanted to be. To me, that's special.
Yeah, agreed. Father David?
I just want to echo what Lloyd said. I think my experience of 30 years of ministry has been pretty much in white churches, where you had the same people serving all the time, and I just love the fact that we are so intentional here about making sure everything is equal on a Sunday morning, or try to as much as we can. But that the seriousness of that and the desire to do that is really quite something. I'll never forget. Also, when I was called, I kept telling people, and they called a white guy from Maine, which I found very special. That here, following Canon and Casson, who I grew up watching in New York City from Westchester County, but just to be in this place. For me also, I need to mention this, we may touch on this later, but the liturgy at SsAM just is so transformative for me. I mean, again, so used to, I'm a cradle Episcopalian and just so used to straight prayer book liturgy. For those of you who are Episcopalians watching this afternoon, you know what I'm talking about. My first Sunday at SsAM was Mardi Gras Sunday. And I still remember going down to Crypt Hall and looking at all the beads and the masks and the bows. And I thought, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it today. So I got right into it. Now, granted, the video looks like I'm a deer caught in the headlights. But I remember just coming up the center aisle and just thinking, this is great. And, the liturgy here is just, bar none, for me, the best in the Episcopal Church. Now, I know I'm biased. We probably both are.
Yeah.
But in terms of the way that the music is so diverse, Season of Creation, which we're in right now, is just amazing, where people are engaged, people come for the Season of Creation, which I find, other churches try to do Season of Creation. We do Season of Creation in terms of how each week builds on the next, and how, again, intentional how that is. But for me, liturgy allows us then to go out into the world. And this is, bar none, the best place I've ever been in terms of how well done it is and how people feel so good about it and feel called to go out into the world.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to come back to the liturgy in a second. Yeah. Canon Casson, can you tell us, where did Carnival Sunday come from?
New Orleans.
And how did it end up at SsAM?
Well, I decided, it was really my first year, and I thought, well, two things. Number one, I'd been in Mardi Gras before. Mm-hmm. And so I had often thought some of this could make great liturgy. I think good liturgy is good theater. I mean, it really is. I mean, they go hand in hand. And so I remember thinking that it would be a great way to bring to really make a powerful entry into Lent would be to have a real Carnival Sunday. And so I really did. I borrowed everything from Carnival as it is in New Orleans. Laissez les bon temps rouler, let the good times roll. That was the logo on the leaflet. And I invited everybody to come in, and the rest is history. But the music was sort of Mardi Gras type music and so on. But at the time of the Eucharist, in telling everybody, now take off your mask. Now you come into the presence of God, where you are who you are.
You can't hide.
There are no masks. You don't need to hide any. You are who you are. Yeah. So remove your mask, come to receive food, and enjoy the rest of the show. So I probably didn't answer your question, but it's really, this whole time it's been one of my favorite. And then to go into the depths of Lent. And that's what Mardi Gras, that's what it was all about. It was, having this last fling before Lent. And so that's what was behind it.
Wow. And I just think that's an important story to tell, because there's so many people that come to SsAM for Carnival Sunday.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for us to capture those moments of inception.
Yes.
Where it comes through.
Yeah.
Now, that leads to my next question, Father David, of what is your favorite season? SsAM has so many seasons that it goes through, and each one has a very distinct character, and it's crafted. What is your favorite one to spend time in each year?
Oh, my goodness. I think for me, it's always been Lent, and it was true. That's true here. And what I'm thinking about, because it's, I have to think of myself pre-COVID and post-COVID. I mean, COVID, there was no There was no favorite season because we were pre-recording everything, so it was hard to get into
Yeah.
the spirit of it. But I think, for me, Lent has always been a favorite season of mine, and I love how we do it at SsAM. Again, it's, as Lloyd said, in terms of you go into the depths of one's being during Lent, and well, along with that, so Lent and Holy Week. I need to add Holy Week.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite service up until just a few years ago was Tenebrae on the Wednesday of Holy Week. The first Tenebrae, I thought I was in a monastery with the men choral scholars, and just the church was dark, and just the lighting of the extinguishing of the candles and the gong, but just the voices of the men was just so transcendent that you couldn't help but be carried back to the events of Holy Week of Jesus that night being right before Maundy Thursday, and you just can't help but feel the drama of that week, and that's why I think why Lent, and I guess I put Lent and Holy Week together in terms of it's all one for me in terms of the difference of what happens here. Season of creation is I can't even rank them. Every season has been. Every season for me here has been wonderful. But I think anything that helps folks get into the depth of it. And I love what Lloyd said. And I hadn't even thought about that in terms of Mardi Gras. Take your mask off. I thought, oh my God, we've been wearing masks for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
But take your mask off. It's very mystical in terms of take your mask off. Be in the presence of God. God doesn't look at your mask. God could care less about your mask. You're coming to receive the body of Christ. Take the mask off, and you're still loved, and to receive it fully as a human being.
He's always loved us for who we are, even when we didn't know.
Even when we didn't know. Exactly.
So Canon, Casson, how about you?
Well, it's hard for me because I really had to begin at the beginning with all the seasons and to try to create them all, or help to create them all, craft them all so that the depths of their meaning and the experiences that people have would really be transformative, as David has said. Not just when they're here, but move to be something different when they leave here. And so I think of Holy Week. Every day in Holy Week, really, every day in Holy Week was a liturgical something that took people from Palm Sunday all the way down into the depths of crucifixion and then in the tomb and resurrection. And it's a glorious time. And we've been very fortunate to have great musicians here from the beginning. And so musicians who were willing, even if I still remember the first person we had as a musician who was a really staid sort of classical organist, although he had grown up in the Black Baptist church, but had become a European, you know what I mean? But was willing, when I told him what we were trying to do here with liturgy, with a blended liturgy, so that every single person, whoever they are, when they walked in here, at some point, they were going to hear their own song being sung. And that was important, that was in and of itself a welcoming thing. But you have to have musicians who are really quite capable and able to do this. This is not easily done. And so this place has been very fortunate to have, down through the years, it's fantastic. David Christopher is an excellent musician. And his work with choirs and so on, it's just absolutely great. So that's all for your questions about seasons. For me, they're all important. Let me say one thing about the season of creation. Because the season of creation was initially mostly about climate. And of course, that's an existentially threatening issue that we're dealing with right now, the climate. But taking a leaf out of Pope Francis's book, he wasn't the Pope at that time, but he sees it this way. You can't really talk about a sustainable planet without talking about sustainable living. And so our season of creation unfolds week after week, talking about the planet, recognizing what creation is meant to be, with every creature enjoying the fullness of their destiny and so on, but recognizing that's not the way it is. That's not the way it is. And so each Sunday does both. It holds up what's meant to be, but the way it is. And so what are we going to do about the way it is?
How do we move forward?
How do we move forward? Right. So anyway, that's a long answer to your question. But all the seasons are great.
Awesome. If there is a moment that you remember, that you look forward to each year, a moment each year. You know, there's a lot that goes on, and we're sort of transitioning now, thinking about not just the liturgy, but also into our ministries and the many things that we do outside of Sunday. A moment each year that you look forward to. You know, you know is coming. And Father David, I'll start with you on this.
Yeah, that's
Oh, man. Oh, thanks, Jonathan. Two. Again, it goes back. I'm still on liturgy, but in terms of how, in 2011, I had the idea of going out on the streets of Market Street with ashes, and how Lloyd helped me, and one guy thought we were beggars and put a quarter in the ash container. But folks who, you know, I know it's popular around the country, and we were not the ones who started it, but it just, I'm all about, again, it goes back to my experience in New York City and being out, the church being out in the community. And Ash Wednesday is one of those visible moments, visible presence of the church out in the world to, you know, folks to give ashes. So that was one. The other, we then, for those 4 years, but beginning in 2014, and working with B.B. Coker and Christina Lee from the parish, and the wonderful urban Stations of the Cross we did out in the community with the choir. And we did it over in West Center City. We did it by the old Cathedral St. John's. We did it, we went to the historic black churches on Walnut Street and ended up at SsAM. And the choir singing after it was meditative. It was just an amazing Good Friday experience. So anything that, for me, those moments of being out in the world and how we connect being out in the world with how we do things here. I mean, for me, it all starts with Sunday morning. In terms of this gives us the food, this gives us the nourishment, this gives us the strength to go out into the world to do what we're all called to do.
Casson?
Well, again, there's several. One that also sort of, can't say began here, maybe it did, but we used to have early on interfaith choral concerts. And I looked forward to them every single year. We had a muezzin from the mosque up in that balcony, chanting Adhan, chanting. And we had a rabbi with a shofar. And we had choirs from everywhere. And it was just, and it benefited Pachman Terrace. But what was marvelous is it brought, like so many things at that time, it really brought so many people here, but making us all cognizant of the great dangers we are in by our unhappy division. And so it's, again, this is not just worship for worship's sake or show, it's really to get us paying attention, being mindful to what it is we really are called to be and do. And it was amazing how the kinds of friendships among us interfaith leaders and others that began to develop during that time. That was one of my most favorite. And I didn't have anything to do at that time except to greet everybody, welcome everybody, and then just let it happen. You know, so it was just great. There are others. I think I must say one of the things that I was always proud about was Friendship House. The very fact of Friendship House's presence here, and watching the interaction between the congregation and the people who benefit from Friendship House, including the chapel on Sunday morning, breakfast, and so on. Those are, I mean, that's church too. That's liturgy too. You know, and in some form or another, that is still happening, which is just wonderful. But that was one of the things that I was most excited about coming here, meeting Bill Perkins and Marcy and seeing what they do and so on. And Undy Sunday, somebody came up with finding underwear, and you know, it sounds innocuous, but it's important.
Yeah.
It's important. Socks, stuff like that.
So Friendship House predates the two churches coming together.
It does. Friendship House was actually, of some years before, it was a part of the ministry of St. Andrew's Church.
Okay.
Essentially, it was giving them space to operate. But by the time St. Matthew's and St. Andrew's consolidated, there were all these resources that were really available to help to really lift Friendship House up to a new level, I think. But now, you know, with church, many congregations that are a part of Friendship House, it is not just it's not just a part of SsAM. It's a community-wide.
One of the things I miss about Sunday mornings is not being able to have Friendship House and the breakfast.
Yeah.
And I would come early. I would come about 7 o'clock on the Sunday morning, and just was so impressed by Bill Perkins's care, knowing every man and woman and child who came for breakfast, and also knew who had just passed away, and gave the news to the community of who had just passed away on the street, or who had, because of exposure, or who was in the hospital dying, but Bill's passion has always inspired me. That just how, you know, his overalls and his commitment and passion, and Marcy too, to the ministry of Friendship House. So, you know, hopefully at some point down the road, the breakfasts can begin again. Along with that, the chapel service of dedicated lay people, of Alice and Jeff Sawyer and Phil and Sue Murphy and Susan and Phil Murphy and Linda and Ron Jackson and Pam Peters and others who led that chapel service that happens at the same time as 8 o'clock.
Right.
And occasionally when I had someone who preached at 8 o'clock, I would sneak downstairs to just attend the chapel service. I was just so impressed by the theology, not only of the lay leadership, but also of the guys. Yeah. In terms of
Absolutely.
hearing their own story and their story of being on the streets, and how it brought tears to my eyes often. And Alice Sawyer's always, I think she kept saying, this is a no label zone. No label, this is a non-judgment place. But then having folks who would come up for the Eucharist from downstairs.
Yeah, that to me was.
And again, I could care less if they slept in the back pew on a cold day, or if they were here. That was what was important. When did we see you naked? When did we see you hungry? When did we see you thirsty? As we read in the gospel this morning, and some of those folks have joined SsAM. I mean, again, we haven't seen our friends because of the pandemic.
But you've got a couple of them who are serve here just about every Sunday.
Silas and Anthony, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And Anthony is new, and
Right.
he lived downstairs before COVID hit, and then, he's here every Sunday.
Yeah.
And Silas, we baptized Silas a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And, you don't see that. You don't find that. And just another story that there was a homeless couple who came to the breakfast, and this will go down as one of those experiences where I married them right here. And Bill Perkins, their marriage license ran out, so Bill had to go down to the courthouse, get a new license, paid the $50, brought him back. I know I should be doing counseling, I know I should be doing all that stuff, but it was just one of those grace-filled moments of Bill was the witness, and it was one of those, again, and this goes a long way, and this is to say that I think what I find the most here, which I've never experienced before, is this is a thin place where you see heaven and earth come together, and you see it often.
That's a good way to put it.
And it's organic. It's not planned. It's not. You can't schedule that. You can't predict it. And that's what makes, for me, that's one of those indelible marks of SsAM that I'll always have on me. Yeah. Is that that spirit of welcome, but that often leaving here, sometimes in tears. I mean, this morning, Al Brock, first time I've seen Al in a year and a half. Because of COVID, he had back surgery, but seeing him vested for the first time, that made my morning this morning. So those experiences, which you can't describe, you can't put a finger on, you can't write about, they just happen.
Happen because of the environment that this church creates. The ability. I mean, one of the things when you speak about Friendship House and the guys from down there, I remember them checking on my girls. If I came to church without my girls, are the girls all right?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Like of all the things they have to worry about in the world,
Yes, indeed.
my girls are what's on their mind. So it's just it's an amazing space that allows for that.
Yeah.
We have our first question from the interwebs,
Okay.
the internet. Rosemary Castielli.
Hey, Rosie.
50 years from now, when SsAM celebrates 75 years in the city, how would you want us to be remembered? Canon Casson.
I would want SsAM not only to be remembered, but to still be here. Yep. And still being what it is meant to be and what those times call for it to be. It will not be successful if the clergy at that time are talking about exactly the same thing that we're talking about now.
Yep.
But it's to preach the same good news and to express the same good news in those times, whatever that happens to be. That to me is, Rosie, I thank you for your question. I really think that that's it. I wouldn't want to say more than that, actually. Wouldn't want to predict what, except that it's still here, still going. They're still planning capsules. They're still having conversations like this. You know what I mean? So that's
We'll be
my
long
opinion.
gone.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
Father David.
Great question. I think adapting is, 50 years from now. I agree with Lloyd. I would hope. The church evolves as times change, but I think there's an opportunity in that where the way I see that could happen. This could happen now, in terms of getting in touch with our mystic roots, in terms of deep prayer and contemplation, and from that well of experience in the Spirit will move where it goes in 50 years, and hopefully folks will listen to it wherever it goes. It's going to be different 50 years from now. God knows who knows what technology is going to be in 50 years, and how this space will be used. The space could be multi-purpose in 50 years, but still a worship space, but grounded in a really, a well of just the experience of being a community that is steeped in prayer and openness to what the Spirit has in store, and not try to control what happens 50 years from now. I mean, my hope is that, I hope SsAM is around 50 years. I mean, it would be a shame if it's not. Because I think, I remember, again, going back a few years ago, someone asked, what would the city of Wilmington be like if SsAM weren't here? And 50 years from now, still be a vibrant center of outreach and love for the city of Wilmington.
It actually touched on one of my questions, so we're going to catch that in a second. Staying in the future, and we're speaking hypothetically now, so I don't want budgets and all the other things to come in. If there is a ministry that you could add to SsAM's already vast ministry offer, or strengthen, as you say, like, it would be amazing to see SsAM do this. What would that thing be? What would be that thing that would be, what could SsAM do that's not already doing? Whoever shouts first gets to go first. This is pushing it, it's thinking about outside of what we've already put together, the many great programs that SsAM has going on. What could happen?
It's a good question. And it's, it's not an easy question, especially if we're looking down the road and in the future, because it's like predicting the future. But certainly, if we look at what the great threats are to life today, that the faith community has to be right in the center of it, naming it, and giving people the sense of spiritual strength to withstand. And I don't know exactly what shape that might take, whether it's political or whether it could be back out on the street serving soup. I mean, who knows? It's just hard to answer that question. I think the only thing I can say is that whatever that it is responding to the critical needs and issues that are facing people at that time. And whatever that happens to be. I mean, a war could be happening. Mm-hmm. And so that's certainly going to determine what the ministry of the church will be at that time, whatever shape it's taking. Sounds like I'm waffling. I don't intend for it to be that, but it is a hard question.
Yeah, but I think that's good guidance. The guidance of pay attention to what's happening.
Yeah.
But it's also a question of dreaming. It's a question of, what would SsAM be like? I mean, what would you like? I mean, yesterday we had a 6-hour retreat on something that is known as holy currencies, which is a new way of looking at ministry and stewardship. But Eric Law, who's an Episcopal priest, talks about the interrelation between relationships and wellness and time and place and money and gracious leadership, all these different things that we talk about. But it's all about movement. It's all about getting out of our silos, allowing the container to grow so that folks can dream about what those ministries might look like. But looking to be a place where there are truth events, where people can come tell the truth about or talk about what's going on in the world at the time, whatever it might be. I mean, right now it's racism, but to be this community that welcomes the entire community in to this place, because this building is important. But the time, to discern at the time what those ministries might be. I don't know what they might be. But also the building of relationships and just the outpouring of leadership and just goodwill, I guess.
Love.
And love. And you're right, Jonathan, to get beyond the tasks of parish life, but rather, this is what Jesus calls us to. This is what Jesus called me to in terms of doing this work. And
Can I add something? Mm-hmm. I just thought about this. We haven't spoken much about ecumenical and interfaith things. But certainly, SsAM cannot only be a silo, not even just an Episcopal church. If SsAM is going to continue and to grow with society as it continues and it evolves, then it will be an ecumenical partner and leader. And it will be speaking the language of faith in different ways, so that people who are here are not strangers, that they really hear their song, their prayer being prayed and sung. And I really, who knows what that is going to be like? Where will the Christian enterprise be at that time? I would hope that SsAM wouldn't resist that kind of evolution, whatever that means.
that could be real exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be, it almost could be kind of I don't know of another word, but an academy of learning and respectful of other ways of belief and faith that are not just what we experience, but it's almost, there's an opportunity, I think, not just for SsAM, but for all churches to do that. I mean, I think SsAM is equipped to do that, and my hope would be that they are able to do that. But the idea of an academy where people can come and learn different forms of prayer or read different authors, but go out in the world and experience or find new ways of being with one another. That's Rabbi Krantz talked this morning about sitting at a diner, having dinner together. But those things that break down walls, that break down the walls that separate us. That might be. I think we're trying to do that now, but who knows where we're going to be in the future.
But as you know, I'm one to dream. So it's always fun to step out and see what could be out there. Yeah, I love how that. If you listen to our conversation from the beginning, it really does lead to those ideas of radical inclusion, thinking outside of the bounds of our Episcopalian-ness. It's just interesting to hear you two dream together. I want to pull back the stories for a second. I want to remind our audience that they can place questions in the comments. So if you have a question, I'll ask it. I have someone feeding me questions right here on an iPad. So if you'd like to put a question in the comments, put it there, and we will ask it. I want to go back to stories for a second and just ask you, as you've gotten to experience so many of SsAM's ministries and the life of SsAM, both during the weekend on Sunday. Give us a favorite moment when visiting the ministry, being a part of a ministry. For an example, I can share that one time the drum circle had a chance to play in front of a Code Purple. We just got to go in and play with Code Purple. And it was the energy in that room and the love and the laughter. We actually had several members from that moment. It was like a moment I'll always remember in my life. So moments that you got that are uniquely SsAM, that happen because of what the ministries here at SsAM do.
You go first.
Ah! Well played, sir. Well played. God, that's a hard one, Jonathan.
Could be a church picnic. Could be.
Yeah.
It's not so much a ministry. Well, maybe it's a pastoral care moment. And and it happened about a month and a half ago. And one of the joys of being a priest and being the rector here is you're asked to do things that that you're glad to do. And about a month and a half ago, I celebrated the renewal of vows for a couple celebrating 52 years of marriage here on a Sunday morning. And they're a new couple and getting very, very active here. And their wedding 52 years ago was not, let's just say it was complicated, and the spouse, the husband, unbeknownst to his wife of 52 years, asked David Christopher to play Ave Maria, which apparently was not played well at their wedding 52 years ago. So when they sat down, and I just turned to David, and it brought tears to all of our eyes, that the care that those of, I guess the care that happens in ministries here. I mean, that's a moment. I mean, Code Purple's another moment. There's so many, Jonathan. I can't even. I mean, I'm having a hard time even trying to rank them, or to even try to bring words to them. I mean, moment. I mean, again, it's just moments of. Again, they're so spontaneous. I mean, for me, they had to be spontaneous, and so I don't always remember them because they're spontaneous. Where the Spirit just moves, and being open to the surprise of how that happens.
Yeah, and being in a space that allows that to happen, because many places cleanse that, right? There's a worry. You must stick to the routine because routine brings comfort.
Right.
Versus being open to that movement.
But as you have said, it isn't only what happens here, it's what happens outside, perhaps as a result of what happens here. There was I think, something that I still think about a lot. In fact, I've been searching for the photograph. One of the things that we used to do here at SsAM, in cooperation with the Franciscans, who were basically down at St. Joseph's Church on Front Street. And that is to be a part of death sentence and death execution vigils, actually go to Smyrna. And Jeff Sawyer and I used to, I still remember when we went, and what a powerful experience it was to be there with people in prayer for the person who was about to be executed, to have the person, hear the person come out and announce the person being executed, and the big bell ring. There was a kind of a fire bell that the brothers, Franciscan brothers, had, and they rolled it around and took it to every execution. And so for SsAM members, you know, we weren't loaded out there, 2 or 3, but it was special, very special. And there's a news journal photograph with Jeff and I with a candle. I think we're holding candles and so on. And I've searched for it because I think it's one of those SsAM moments, so to speak, that could easily be lost. And yet it was such a powerful witness and powerful moment. And we were serious. I mean, I don't know, execution is at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. So to get up and drive down and do that is really something. But it was to see the commitment, not simply against the death penalty, but for life, that expressed.
Yeah.
So and that, it didn't happen here, in this space, but it's because that's the sort of thing that was a concern of ours.
Mm-hmm.
From a faith stance, that was a concern of ours.
But if we think about so many of the ministries of SsAM, it's outside of this space.
Yeah. Sure.
Outside, feeding, Ash Wednesday, being out in the community, drum circle out in the parks.
Or the youth taking toilet articles to give to the homeless people up in Rodney Square.
Exactly.
Really.
Outside of these walls.
Yeah, sure.
So I think it's an important thing that SsAM brings to the word ministry.
Yeah.
Is that ministry isn't internal. It's external. Well, we're getting close on time.
Are we really?
And so the first thing I want to do before we move to the time capsule is to give you both an opportunity just for any words of wisdom, anything you'd like to say at the end of this conversation, just to go with everything we've sort of already talked about. Just a moment of open response.
Yeah. This has to do with what's going on in the world today. And what I want to say to the members of SsAM is do not allow what's happening there to affect you. Don't change and become the evil that we deplore, as the hymn puts it. What is going to make SsAM continue is the magnificent, unambiguous love of God as we know that love through Jesus Christ, flowing in this community. Make sure that this community itself remains steadfastly a community of love for each other. That's the love that flows out from you to the community. But it does begin right here, in this faith community, becoming the family of Christ, brothers and sisters of Christ, the body of Christ. So that's what I'd want to say. And we see it happening all over our society today, that we are all being affected by the toxicity that's in the world around us, especially in our nation, the anger and so on. Don't allow that to overtake this community. Stay together in love, and trusting each other, and dreaming together about what God intends for you to be doing as the years unfold from year to year. God bless you all.
Father David.
I am full of appreciation for this afternoon. Also, I thank my brother here, who I said earlier that Lloyd, I grew up in Westchester County, and back in the day, the New York Times always had the Sunday services on the Saturday paper. It was always Trinity, Wall Street, St. Paul's, Lloyd, Casson, Vicar. This is back in the 70s, whenever you were there.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you, but also thank SsAM. And I echo what Lloyd said, that to keep on keeping on. Continue being a place of love and service and radical hospitality as you begin the next chapter that God will unfold for you. But my heart is full. Of so much appreciation and love and commitment and passion you have shown me. And we'll have time in the next 2 months to say more of this, but today I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Sam, we're a place that has grown. It's a congregation. We're a place that, as you can see, pulls great rectors into our midst to lead us and wrestle with us. I thank you both for your lives that you've given us, being a PK and seeing what it takes on the back end. And a lot of parishioners don't get to see. I know a little glimpse of what that is. I thank you for sharing and the challenge that it is to be intentional in inclusion in a world that doesn't allow that sometimes. And the amount of emotional energy it takes to do that, along with the physical and the mental and all that, the other side of it. We appreciate you. We love you. This story is safe. This story is going to keep growing. There are many more chapters to this story coming. It is important for us to take time and think about this current chapter and the chapters of the past during this 25th anniversary. We have a moment now to move to the time capsule.
Okay.
We would like to unpack the time capsule.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll take things out and I'll pass them down the line.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's exciting.
Like Christmas. It's like Christmas.
I think you're supposed to just sit down.
Well, am I sitting down?
Oh, we can do it. We can come on up to the table. Come to the table. We have a second camera angle.
Whew. And we're supposed to call out what it is, right? Oh, the Diocesan Convention of 2006.
Photos.
We actually had the convention here for the whole diocese. It was the 10th. It was for the 10th anniversary.
Is that when Jim Forbes preached?
Jim Forbes was the preacher, and he rocked this place. and minds were blown.
Wow. Oh, a little jazz. Madeline Johnson, Holiday Jazz Concert,
Oh my goodness!
December 19th, 2003.
Yeah, can we open that?
Yeah, that's a picture of her. She could scat like you could not believe. I'm afraid to open it.
So we can do here. Let's see. Don't want to wreck it, but
Wow.
I might have no choice.
Oh, Madeline will be in touch with you.
I'm scared of singers. I don't know if I.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go. Oh, I see. It's double.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Madeline Johnson. Let's see here.
How about that?
Wow.
let's put this underneath it.
Yeah.
So we keep the record. We have a T-shirt here.
Yeah. Peace Kids, maybe? Jane Cool? Jean Cool was the director of the, oh no, this is 10th anniversary walk. That was, at the 10th anniversary, we all went back to SsAM,
Wow.
to St. Matthew's, to see what had happened with the nursery coming in and all that sort of thing. But it was, for some of us, it was the first time we'd been back there since we had left.
Wow.
So it was, yeah. Wow.
Unlabeled.
Well, we'll
See
find
if
new
I
envelope. Need a
A.
key.
I did not.
I don't have a key in my pocket.
Actually, I'm gonna go this way.
You know, I'll tell you, when we planted this capsule, Sandy Johnson was standing next to me, and she said, "This is so wonderful." She says, "I don't know, we probably won't be here when it opens, but this is a wonderful thing." And I said, "Well, I'm going to be here." I said, "I may need a ride, but I'm going to be here."
This is Max.
Report to the vestry, consolidation of St. Andrews and St. Matthew's to form SsAM. Max Bell functioning as former senior warden. And there's the whole report. Isn't that incredible? That is incredible. That's a very important.
See if we can find a way to display that so people can
Yeah.
look through it in the petition.
There's the petitions. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, this is great. Here, I'll give you the envelope.
Oh, the original. This must be the burial service. Of
Oh,
the
this is a time capsule. This was the service that we had when we buried the capsule. How about that?
The original service. Yeah, let's see what we have here.
My, that's beautiful. It begins, "O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come. Bless this capsule as a repository of moments in our journey thus far, as the Church of Saints Andrew and Matthew." My goodness. Isn't that beautiful?
That's great.
Yeah.
Still got the dirt from 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
For goodness sake.
Celebration
Of a new ministry. The Congregation of the Episcopal Church of St. Andrew and Matthew and the Reverend Canon Lloyd S. Casson, the first rector. Saturday, March 15th, 1997 at 4 o'clock. Wow, look at that. You have, this was sort of like a wedding getting ready for this?
Then you have the commemorative book that was created.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had not remembered this.
And Verna Dozier preached at your celebration in ministry.
Verna Dozier preached at my celebration of the ministry. Right.
So
Right. Need a letter opener.
this is a newspaper clip. We'll need to be careful.
Delaware Communion.
Miss Patricia Hampton. Oh, wow.
St. Andrews and St. Matthews form new community in Christ. How about that? This is the Delaware Communion, the paper in those days.
October 1995.
October 1995. Yeah. Jeff Sawyer wrote it. This was when they voted. This is when they voted before the convention. They voted on June 11th, 1995. The congregations voted overwhelmingly to join together as one community. Isn't that incredible?
Wow.
Yeah.
So hold that up for the camera.
Yeah.
See, that's a pretty amazing moment.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. The camera was there. Here. I want to make sure that actually happened.
Let's see. What's going on here? This is all this archival level paper.
Yeah.
Oh, bumper sticker.
Bumper sticker, right.
In the days of bumper stickers, celebrating 10 years together.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, you know, in those days, it wasn't necessarily a given that a congregation like this, that this kind of consolidation would last. And so that was quite an accomplishment. Community advocacy opportunities for outreach. Look at that. My goodness. Caring to the daily physical needs of others. Programs to support diversity, outreach, fellowship activities. There's a whole brochure of things. Activities that people, yeah.
Activities.
Oh, and the 10th anniversary celebration, the banquet at the University of Delaware, Good Stay campus, Parish Hall.
That's the invitation.
Yeah, this is the invitation. Beautiful. Renovation of the church, Lighting the Way campaign, for many of whom are not with us now, who gave so much of their time and talent. I didn't remember that this much was in there.
It's deep. There we go.
Okay.
Not sure what's in that one.
Well, it looks like a directory. Wreaths of Peace, sponsored by sermon series, Faith for These Times, Noontime Worship. I'd forgotten about those.
Is that Lenten lunches?
Lenten lunches, and after the lunch or before, in the middle of sermon series. That was great.
And there was nothing Lenten about Lenten lunches.
This is the Wood of St. Andrews Lenten cook. It's nice.
I'm gonna do this. I can turn myself off, and then you can be. About this.
Oh, visions. My goodness. This is one, apparently, this was before the consolidation, but it was a leaflet or vision for, published by both churches, St. Andrew's Church and St. Matthew's Church. They hadn't gotten together yet, but yeah. Wonderful. Season of creation. My goodness gracious. Look at that. My goodness, David. Take a look at these. Yeah, this is the convention Eucharist that I was telling you about, the diocesan convention held right here. This is wonderful. Yeah. Bishop Wright's visit, yeah. Annual report, my goodness. SsAM, actually, this is really interesting. This is these are videotape interviews for the time capsule.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You gotta find a way. Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Here's some more. That's what all of these are. Oh, this is Episcopal Church prayer breakfast at the time. Slideshow 10th anniversary. There's some good audio visuals here. They would be nice to show. Whoop. I think this is children, maybe Palestinians in crisis, or children who were hurt or something. I can't remember now.
Friendship House.
And that's Friendship House.
Friendship House.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. Right. Oh yeah, these are wonderful photos. We'll just leave these out here. There are too many to try and identify now, but here's one of David Christopher.
David Christopher.
Okay. A lot of photos. Parish picnics and things like that. People we all know. A prayer book. Oh, just a prayer book. A nice, I shouldn't say just a prayer book. Oh yeah, 10th anniversary badge or bracelet.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
Is that it, gentlemen? That's it? Wow. So this will all be on display for folks to come in and see, I believe, and we'll get it more organized.
This will all be on display. Not sure exactly where, but that'll be all communicated through the church. Thank you all
Thank you.
for
Thank
spending
you.
time with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Interesting.
Stream down.